So we're feeling at home right in the middle. Things are coming and going. Some of the activity of our body and mind might be confusing. Some of it might be pleasant. Some of what's moving might be unpleasant. But whatever it is that's moving now, just sensing directly it is already the way that it is. We're feeling already what we're feeling, what we're exposed to in this moment. So given that it's already like this for each of us, the immediacy of what we're experiencing now, it's already like this. The generous way to be relating would be with kindness and interest, balance. So each of us will need to find our own way back here, this place of interest and kindness and balance. And it could even be a question that we drop in from time to time. Is it okay to be accepting, or is it okay to be allowing this moment to be the way it is already? Is it safe to be undefended, to be open, to be feeling what we're feeling? And in this way, we're directly exploring this path, this process of non-distraction, being intimate with what's moving in our mind, in our heart, in our bodies. Can it be okay to be this exposed, to be this confused, or whatever it is that's moving now, that's showing up for us? Ultimately, equanimity, which is really the fruit of our practice, it doesn't come from escaping the present moment, but rather it's all about realizing how to be right in the middle. And it can be quite helpful to train with some simple aspects of the present moment, like feeling the sensations of breathing in, feeling the sensations of the breath going out, and with something relatively neutral, natural, like breathing in and breathing out, we can build our confidence that it's okay to be intimate, to let nature be nature, the nature of the body be the nature of the body. Many of us discover with mindfulness of breathing that it's actually quite challenging to be intimate with the natural process of breathing in and out without needing to control it, manage it in some way. So that's why it's called a practice, a training. And if we can do it with something relatively neutral like sensitivity to the breathing process, or more generally, sensitivity to the sitting body, then we might have more of a chance with the richness of our lives, what comes and goes, all the triggering aspects of our lives and all the beautiful moments in our lives, that intimacy and balance can be there no matter the particular conditions. And this gives us a sense of the Buddha's awakening and what the practices lead toward. Freedom, ease, no matter the conditions. But it isn't a fixed stance, like I'm going to be a quantumist no matter what. It isn't something the mind clings to. It's really about learning from the exposure, softening, opening, receiving. And often it means training with relatively neutral experience to build confidence. So don't neglect these training anchors, like just being with the breath as it comes in, allowing the nature of the exhalation to unfold just as it does. And then the next breath comes in, and the heart allows it to be the way it is, that in-breath. And then the out-breath. And learning how to trust the natural unfolding of things. Being right there, clearly aware, but without any greed, without any aversion being acted out, and without distractedness. That's the training. And in moments you'll open up and be more all-inclusive of your experience. And then in other moments more specifically training with the neutral anchor, the breath, or the whole body sitting. So let's continue in silence now. notice the simple truth that it's like this now. In every moment, we have this much clarity. This is the ground we have, which is, it's like this now. And that's true when the moment is confusing or ambiguous. It's like this. Or when there's a sharp pain in the body, it's like this. Or a lightness in the body, a pleasant feeling. There can be the knowing, it's like this. And there may be a habit of dismissing the simple truth, acknowledging the way it is. But we can cultivate a new habit, really appreciating this capacity we have to connect, to acknowledge it's like this. In a way, we're meeting our life as it is, in this moment, one moment at a time. And the freedom here in being open, intimate, is the freedom of not having to run and hide, or not having to project something onto the moment, but instead just letting things be as simple as they are. Bodily experience is unfolding, and the mental experience is thoughts and feelings that's unfolding. It's really as simple as the succession of moments of knowing. It's like this now. And even if the heart, the mind reacts, then that reaction is being known. It's like this now. And we can ask, it may seem like I shouldn't accept the way it is, the experience I'm feeling. But it's good to keep an open mind. Is it okay to be feeling what I'm feeling? Is it safe to be seeing and feeling what I'm seeing and feeling? It's already here, it's already like this. Does the heart need to resist? And then if it is resisting the heart, okay? It's like this now, the heart's resisting. Can this be okay? What's it feel like? Can I be here with this experience? Seeing it, feeling it clearly. Do I have to be at war with the conditions of my experience? Or is there a way to be open and accepting? So we're not demanding anything, we're exploring. Big welcome to everyone. Thanks for coming. All of you here in the room, those online. Maybe I'll mention I meant to last Sunday. Most of you know this, but there may be some new people in the community. So Common Ground's been around since 1993, quite a while now. And all that time we've tried to be in alignment with how most of the monasteries, especially in the Theravada tradition, but I think it's generally true, just offering the teachings freely. And it's this spiritual teaching and practice for us, not just in terms of how you relate to Common Ground, but how we relate to everything in life, the circle of giving and receiving. Because otherwise, if we have a more transactional relationship to our friends and family and all the things we relate to, then it's always this, am I giving too much? Am I taking too much? But one of the things we can explore, like in your relationship to Common Ground, is just to receive what you're receiving in the relationship, like to the programs here, and to give in a way that makes you happy. So receive in a way that makes you happy, because we could pay attention to all the things we don't like about Common Ground when you're here at a program, or you can pay attention to whatever it is you feel you're benefiting from, right? And in that way, it's like a healthy way to relate. You could spend all your years living in Minneapolis or St. Paul or the surrounding area totally focused on what's bad about it. Let's see how that works for you, or wherever you live, those of you who don't live in town. So the same thing, like this circle, what we call dana, the circle of giving and receiving, and the freedom that can come from that. It's actually meant to be a spiritual practice, a very foundational, liberating spiritual practice. So the encouragement is, especially here at Common Ground, in your relationship to the community and the teachings and the place, like how to receive freely, how to make it a cause for happiness, like, oh, this is a free gift given to me freely, no strings attached. And to really let that land as a cause of happiness. How can it be a cause for happiness for you? And then any way you give back, even just with your good wishes for the community or for the organization, or you contribute money or you volunteer your time, then let that be something that causes happiness too. Like, in what way can I give back that will make me happy, that will be a cause for happiness in my life? How might that work for me? And it's an exploration. And then take it on the road, like do it with some of your other relationships in life. How to receive, like if you have a pet, or if you have a son, daughter, child, if you have a cousin, if you have whatever relationships you have, how can you attune to whatever you're receiving in that relationship and whatever you're giving, and both the receiving and the giving a cause for happiness. And even where, on the outer level, like your jobs where you get paid, even though there is, sort of a contract there, you can still, like whatever you receive, you can really appreciate whatever you receive, including your paycheck. And then whatever you give, you can appreciate that giving, contributing, because it does feel good to give and contribute. So if you have any questions about that, we have more information on the website, and there's a iPad, and Joanna's here, and Dan is over there, and Miriam is in the corner here. So you can check in with them afterward if you have any questions about how it all works. But somehow it works. We've been doing it a long time now, and we somehow pay our paid staff and support our teachers and have a beautiful building that the community made happen and have a beautiful retreat center about 90 miles out of town. So yeah, things can happen that way. And I've been talking about equanimity the last few weeks, and as I've been saying, it's really meant to be the deeper flavor of the Buddhist teachings and practices and the fruit from practice. What is the fruit? Like if your friends who don't practice ask you, like, what do you get from your years of practice? One of the natural responses you might hear from people who've been practicing for a while is, I just have a lot more ease no matter what's going on in my life. Like as different twists and turns happen, good stuff, bad stuff. Less entranced by the good stuff, thinking this good stuff that's happening to me is going to save me. I don't fall into that trap. Nor when bad stuff happens, this is going to be the end of me, or this is not good. And it doesn't mean we become stupid, like we don't know the difference between pleasant stuff happening to me and unpleasant stuff happening to me. Right? If anything, we become more and more sensitive the more we practice. Because part of what we're doing, like even in something as simple as being aware of the breath going in, being aware of the breath going out, we're training the mind, the heart to be more sensitive, right? Just in that simple, it's just a little bit of what we do as students of the Buddhist teachings. But even in that simple practice of attending to the present moment, like using the breath or using the body or using whatever we're using to cultivate a continuity of present moment awareness, the effect of that is we're just more sensitive in life. You may not like that. It's kind of a setup, because being more sensitive means we're going to see more and feel more. And if you haven't noticed, life is a mess. And, some of us are lucky and we can kind of cover up the mess with, nice stuff. We tuck ourselves away in a nice place with nice stuff, nice entertainments. And we can, not for long, and it actually turns out to be quite stressful to be disconnected. So I mentioned last week when I was talking about equanimity, the importance of vastness, or taking in the whole picture, the whole truth. And it's not like we can do that volitionally. Like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, Mark. I'm going to really open to the whole truth of my experience. Because it's the way we do that is not so much in trying, but relying on our natural receptivity. Like getting out of the way. We're naturally sensitive. And when we get out of the way, we start to feel everything, including the reverberations of the past. Because where is the past? It's all reverberating right here in our bodies. And nowhere else. It's not like the past is back there influencing us, a few chapters back, causing, radiating its influence on us. No, we're sort of the living embodiment of the past, all of us, which is also frightening, right? I mean, given the past, if you've read any history, this is what remains of the past, what's ever reverberating right here and around us. then all of a sudden it starts to make a lot more sense that it's like this. Our families, our world, our own mind and bodies. Oh yeah, because it's a lot, to a large degree, just the reverberations of whatever is past. And hopefully then we start to generate a respect, a necessary respect, like, okay, what's going on? What's the appropriate way for me to be showing up in my life? You know, and we start to notice all of our habits of distractedness, you know, where we disappear in this website or in this activity, or, you know, all the ways that we can kind of fill up space. Mostly, you know, we may not see it clearly, but mostly as a way to avoid feeling and seeing what's here. And even though it's easy to do that because it's our habit and it works on the surface, but as we take in the bigger picture, like really more receptive, more honestly interested, what's moving here, we see how stressful it is to be disconnected. Like to be here and to want to be disconnected, to want to absorb into something is stressful. Even though it's hard work to retrain our mind to be open and receptive to the present moment, to what's moving here, it's only hard because we have so much habit energy around distractedness, right? So the work is creating a counterweight to the habits of distraction. So we retrain our mind to be present. But eventually, it starts to feel more and more natural to be present. And then when we have more of that continuity of present moment awareness, more of that intimacy, that exposure, feeling the reverberations of the past, you know, like whenever we get triggered, the heat, the intensity of that response or reaction, because, you know, we get triggered in different ways by different experiences. Why is that? Well, because we're reverberating the past in different ways, all of us. And we're not going to be able to see our way out of this, you know, samsara, that just reacting to reactions, on and on like that, until we have enough balance where we can observe. It's always this chicken and egg, you know, we need equanimity to develop equanimity. We need to observe this unfolding of our lives, thoughts that come and go, emotions that come and go, activities around us that are arising and passing. We need to be intimate to basically see how reaction arises. Like getting free of reactivity requires us being really close, interested in reactivity. One of the reasons we sit, you know, in our meditation form, sitting in a comfortable way, holding the body still as a training, it's not like we're not getting triggered. You know, every thought we have is sort of triggering, have you noticed? And every sensation we feel in our body is triggering, and the sounds we hear triggering, like, what the hell is that? It's Sunday morning, you know, what's going on? You'll find out soon enough. I don't know if the schedule will be the same as last year, but usually they come and mow the lawn at the credit union on Sunday morning at this time. So, and we get to see, like in that context, we can see, okay, I'm sitting here, the mind, the heart is sensitive. It's sensitive to the body. My mind, heart is sensitive to sound and sight and thought and emotion, right? That's the reality. And then there's this, like, what the hell? You know, that shouldn't be happening. And it's described, as just a thing that any of us would want to contemplate, like, okay, there's sensitivity. So what's the problem here? Is it that I'm so sensitive to sound? Or is the problem that particular sound of the engine? What is the problem? And the Buddha's response to that question is, well, there's nothing inherently wrong to being sensitive to sound, or sensitive to emotion, or sensitive to thought, or sensitive to touch. We might think, oh boy, if only I weren't sensitive. Or there's nothing inherently wrong with a rumbling sound. There's nothing evil about that sound, or that thought, or that emotion, or that touch that you're feeling. The problem arises with what comes up, with the so-called triggers, which are just experiences, right? It's already a little demeaning to call them triggers. It's just a sound. Is it really a trigger? Is it out to get me? It's like we think the sound is perfectly designed, or this person's response to me perfectly designed to get under my skin or trigger me in some way. But no, it's just nature doing nature's business, including obnoxious people. They're also just nature doing nature's business. They're not out to get us. Right? A lot of times we think, the way the world is, or what this person's doing, or my own body is betraying me in some way. No, nature's doing nature's business. We're sensitive to that. And I can't really blame the sensitivity. It doesn't seem like sensitivity is in any way bad or evil. And it doesn't seem, when I'm honest, that what arises, sounds and thoughts and emotions and sensations, are inherently, they're just the way that it's supposed to be, The problem is what our mind constructs with sensitivity and the particular experience we're sensing. My mind, constructs a story, like the example I gave, like, what the hell? Or don't you realize we're a Buddhist church having our Sunday morning service? We have rights to quiet. I think it came with the purchase of the place. There used to be, when we first moved here, what's it called? The hub of hell, this corner right here, because there was a bar over there where that white building is, and then the Mirage, which is now a bakery, used to be a kind of a disco sort of place, and then the Hexagon, which burnt down after George Floyd got murdered with the uprising. That's Kitty Corner. And then it seems to me there was one more around here. Wasn't there one more bar? Yeah, and then the bowling alley, which is a block away, used to be more of a scene than it is these days. I forget why I was talking about bars, but the hub of hell. Yeah, well, anyway, so the mind constructs something with experience, with the sensitivity to whatever we're sensing. And that's what we need to see, is like how the mind constructs experience. And we need to see that for what it is. That's really the deeper experience of equanimity, is that kind of profound, of course. Like whenever my mind constructs something, you're reading the news, and you're reading about something that's really bringing up a strong emotional feeling, like it shouldn't be this way. People getting harmed or something like that. So there's sensitivity and an experience, an emotion and thought that you're sensitive to. And then it would be very easy to build a self around that, even a sense of self-righteousness around that. But we can be sensitive to those thoughts and emotions without building a heavy sense of self, that wants to hate, for example. And it doesn't mean that we become passive. It just means that we understand what's helpful and what's not helpful. Because we don't want to sometimes people wrongly think that the way forward in our spiritual practice this is a misunderstanding. Like, if only I wasn't so sensitive, if only the news or this thing going on with a friend didn't touch my heart so much, I didn't feel so much in response. So is that the problem, that you're being touched? You really feel deeply when people are happy, or feel really deeply when people are hurting? No, that's not the problem. Being sensitive isn't the problem. The fact that nature's unfolding, and some people get sick and that hurts because you care about them. That's not that's not a mistake. It's not like nature's making a mistake. The problem of suffering is what my mind constructs with its sensitivity to sense experience. And so with equanimity, we observe that construction process. And when we observe it in a way where we feel safe enough to observe it, we see our mind constructing reactivity, basically, both in terms of liking and in terms of not liking experience. So both ends. We just observe it, we observe it, we observe it, we observe it. And eventually, what happens is the mind sees deeply that it's not needed. Like I think I shared the last couple of weeks, this teaching from Shantideva, this 9th century Buddhist monk. Well, if there's something that needs to be done, we'll do it. If there's nothing that needs to be done, there's nothing that needs to be done. So in either case, whether there is in this moment something to be done or not to be done, why get tight? Why construct a sense of me that's burdened, has that squeeze, that tightness? Why? And it's radical, and I think it's important to respect how radical a notion that is. To be in the world, not to reject our sensitivity, not to blame what we're sensitive to. Like, if only the world weren't so messed up, then I could be happy. Well, this is how it is, right? Right now, at this time and place, the world is this way, my family is this way, this particular relationship is this way, my financial situation is this way, the health of my body is this way. This is how it is, and I'm sensitive to that. So if there's something to do, Mark, then do it. And if in this moment there's nothing that needs to be done, well, then there's nothing that needs to be done. And it makes more sense when we align our understanding, like, why are we here? Because if we think we're here to impose our will, like, so to make the world right, the image that Shantideva uses, I might have mentioned this last week, is, thinking the point of my existence is to smooth out all the rough spots in the world, like cover the world with shag carpeting or something, so there's nothing sharp that we can step on. And we feel that way, like, where that sense of responsibility, we over-understand what we're responsible for. We do that in our relationships with our partners, with our pets, with our children, with our friends, and with the wider world. And it doesn't mean we don't care, and it doesn't mean we don't help. It's really how we're constructing our role or our relationship. Doing what we can, but it may not be enough. My pet may still suffer. My child may still suffer. My friends may still suffer. The world may still suffer. So instead of spreading leather over the world to cover, or that's what the traditional simile is, spreading the leather over the world, or building a pair of shoes. And this equanimity we're developing is really this confidence in our heart that there is this capacity to see everything, to feel everything we're going to see and feel, and to do what needs to be done, what can be done when it's falls into my lap to do something, and to be okay when there isn't anything to do in that moment. So we're not dependent on doing, and we're not dependent on not doing. And this has a nice sort of sense of freedom. The freedom to do, the freedom to not do, to respond or not respond. And I would imagine, I don't have kids myself, I would imagine that as your children get older and older, parents have to learn this, like when to actively, you're going to always probably, I'm guessing, just empathetically feel what they're feeling or care about what they're feeling. But you have to be okay, because otherwise you might do stuff when it's not your turn to do stuff, And that doesn't help you and it doesn't help them. Both, that you're doing something, but even what you're doing. And that's, just having been in my marriage now and we've lived together even longer, but we've been married for like 33 years or so. And it's one of the hardest things, like with equanimity, is to be around another human being really close, and human beings tend to suffer. And not to suffer because my partner's suffering. And not to neurotically need to fix them because they're suffering. And not neurotically to turn away from them, to close down because they're suffering. And I could say the same thing about their happiness. It's like trying to get something from their happiness. Or turning away from them because they're happy, like the nerve. Right? So we have all of these sort of, the absence of equanimity, really get in the way of having a healthy, intimate relationship with another human being. How to really be there in the relationship, but in a sort of way that's a little mysterious, not dependent on the relationship. It seems paradoxical. Either I'm in and it matters, and I am dependent, or I'm not in. But maybe there's a way to be even more in precisely because of the absence of dependence. And it doesn't mean that our heart wouldn't break if something happened in the relationship, the person left or the person dies, or for whatever reason the relationship falls apart, right? It might be extremely painful, likely would be extremely painful. But there could be this quiet confidence of like, and I can be with that extreme pain and whatever it leads to. And you're getting the sense of, you're probably getting the sense of why it's so radical, because it means that the whole point of life isn't about creating something that is worthy of my dependence. It's the way I want it to be. I've got this relationship and this home, and all the pieces are kind of the way I want them to be, and now it's just suitable for grasping, clinging. That's, whether we're honest about it or not, that tends to be how we relate to life. Let me create something that I feel comfortable grasping, getting dependent on. And let me always be gravitating away, afraid, and even haunted by what I don't want in my life. So, and in Buddhism, that's what we mean by worldly point of view, or attachment to sensuality, attachment to worldly existence. It's this very commonplace idea that we all have that, this is going to save me. This person, this situation that I'm trying to hold together, trying to set in motion, trying to have. And the waking up and deepening wisdom and really love, it means, this capacity to love really means this non-dependence. But non-dependence doesn't mean we're like dependent on being independent. This is why it's so paradoxical. Real freedom of equanimity is in the exposure. Even though we train where it's relatively simple, we go to a quiet place, or you go on a retreat, a little beautiful place in the country like Common Grounds Retreat Center, that the community has made happen over these last 10 years or so that we've had it, maybe 12 years now. It's really a simple place, but really beautiful, quiet place. And not everybody, but most people feel pretty safe there and comfortable there. And just being with their body, being with their breath, being with the walking, being with their chores that they might be doing when they're out there. Right? We can practice being intimate and allowing things to unfold. And things get triggered, someone will bother us, making too much noise, or seemingly too concentrated, too peaceful, and then we get jealous or something like that. So whatever it is that's triggering, then that's in that relatively supportive environment, we get to see the reactivity as something that arises, lasts for a while, and then passes away. And when we see these reactive patterns arise and pass enough times, we realize it's not me, it's just a habit to need this. It's like we're sitting here and some of us will have thoughts about lunch. And some of those thoughts, like what we construct around those thoughts will be me who really needs a delicious lunch. Not what's in my fridge, but, and then whatever it is that's our favorite. So we can see how, we can't help but be sensitive to pangs of hunger. We are naturally sensitive. But what we construct around that sensitivity to hunger, well, that we can do something about. We could just learn to be equanimous with being hungry. Oh, yeah. And if there's something we can do, like eat, well, then we eat. But when you're here, it would be inappropriate to be eating, right? But we're okay being with the feeling of hunger. Right? So it's not like we would go looking to live our life with that feeling of hunger. But we don't have to construct anything around it. It can just be that, rumbling or whatever you get in your tummy when you're hungry. Oh yeah, it's like this. This is how it is sometimes. There's hunger. Feels like this. And with the hunger, there's all these impulses to want to think about what's in the refrigerator, or, do I have enough money to go buy this, or, oh, I know I'm not supposed to be eating that, but I really want to eat that. There's a vegan hamburger place now, real close on Lake Street. What is it, Francis? Francis Burger Joint, that I've been tempted. Haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, so now we have some construction going. I mean, some of you are having a repulsion. Vegan burgers, what? And others are going, well, it's close enough. Maybe I'll just read a little bit from, this is from the Buddha. Thus one regards it, this way of seeing, where there's sensitivity and experience that we're being sensitive to. And the third thing is what arises in conjunction. Given that my heart is sensitive, and given that there are experiences that I'm going to be sensitive to, this is being known. That's the being known is the sensitivity being felt and the experience. And the third thing is whatever arises in conjunction, like whatever the mind makes up about our sensitivity. And, a lot of that construction is, part of it is just because we're a social animal and we talk with each other, we relate to each other, and we have to do that through our constructions. Hey, yesterday this happened to me, there was this experience and I felt it, but we also are going to share, and I really liked it, and then so I did this, right? So these constructions is sort of, it's like culture. It's what we make up around the ordinary parts of being a human being that needs to eat and needs to sleep and needs to mate and all these different things that we do in our kind of social lives. But we don't have to be confused. We can really get to know these constructions, our own and everybody else's constructions, and just understand them for what they are. And you could even start training yourself like, oh, construction, just like the liking mind. Oh yeah, that's just the liking mind. The not liking mind. Oh, that's just the not liking mind. Or wanting mind, not wanting mind, love, hate. Without demonizing any of it, but just to see it. Because when we are confused by it, then clinging arises. The problem, the Buddha says, is the clinging. It isn't the sensitivity, and it isn't what we're sensitive to. And in a way, it isn't even what the mind habitually constructs. It's the specific clinging. It's the way the heart gets squeezed or tight. It's the identification or the attachment that hurts. And we need to see that over and over again because it's the seeing it that allows for the releasing of it. The more we see that the identification, the attachment, the clinging is unneeded, then it falls away. And if anything, it frees us up to be more and more responsive in life, this non-attachment, this non-clinging. Sometimes people, will say, well, I need the charge of hate, or I need the charge of love or, desire, because it motivates me. What helps get me out of bed in the morning and gets me to make that phone call and do that thing. And so I think that might be, and it's for each of us to explore, we have a limited way of understanding our own mind at this point. We haven't been a good enough student of our own heart and mind. Because there may be other motivations that get us up out of bed and get us to engage and respond to life that don't put a squeeze on. Like the whole, what we talked about in April, what I spoke about in April, the 4 Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. These qualities of love are perfectly adequate sort of motives to live our life. When we brush our teeth, right, it doesn't have to be a reaction and a fear of the yellowness of our teeth when we look in the mirror, or the aversion to the dentist. It could be an act of love and tenderness to brush our teeth. So we don't have to lose the balance. We don't need the squeeze of fear to brush our teeth. We might think we do. And that's for each of us to explore, like, how can I get through Sunday today? How can I get through the day without depending on that squeeze of fear or the squeeze of greed? How can I do what needs to be done in our world and our lives without reinforcing that habit, like constructing a somebody who's afraid or a somebody who needs, wants. And the thing is, we've been relying on that construction because it creates some juice. There's some intensity to being a somebody. Because once we're identified with being a somebody, then everything is sort of, it's like the impact of liking and not liking adds juice. So with equanimity, we're really cultivating a different quality. We're tuning into a different quality, the quality of ease and peace, and a more natural responsivity, meaning it's not driven by fear and greed or hate and greed. It's really that more, you know how it is when you're with a child or with your pet or with a good friend, and just the way you take care of the moment and take care of each other, it's just natural. Doesn't feel like a burden at all. It's almost like a privilege to be engaged and kind of doing the dance with that other being. Maybe life can be that way all the time. So I'll leave it here. A couple of announcements before we leave. Let's see, this coming Saturday, Richard Bach is going to be leading a mindful nature immersion, just in person, 10 to 11:30, Saturday the 10th. Following Saturday, Stacy McClendon is leading an introduction workshop. If you or you know somebody who might want an introduction to the practice, 9:30 to 4 on Saturday the 17th. I'll be teaching or leading a day-long retreat on the 24th. And Sarah Wilson and I will be leading this twice annual community practice intensive, June 2nd to the 21st. We do it every June and December. Shelley leads the one in December with another person usually. And it's 17 days of just upping your practice in a community setting. There's usually about 50 people that join in for these community practice intensive. It's okay for people who are just on Zoom, as well as people who are nearby. And we end with a day-long retreat on Saturday, the 21st of June. So consider that. And there's more information for all of those programs. Our main place to get information, two main places. One is our public calendar on our website or on the internet. And the other place is getting on the weekly email list. And we send out an email every week with program updates. So if you'd like to stay and meet some community members, we'll divide you all into small groups, but that's always optional. Yeah, Joanna?
Yeah, I found a cell phone on the shoe rack out front, so if that's yours, come find me.
Great. Yeah, Dan?
Anyone could help us bring the chairs downstairs, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, all the folding chairs go downstairs to the right and to the right. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for coming, everyone. Please stay for small groups if you want. And then, Austin, if you transfer the host to Lucy, that would be great.